Ladies and gentlemen, what is up, and welcome to today's video review of Blade in Marvel Contest of Champions. Now, this character has been out for 5 days, and we have seen so many videos this weekend of Blade in Alliance War against the Boss Rush Challenge, all sorts of aspects of endgame gameplay. So it's been a real great opportunity for me to kind of analyze Blade in a variety of different situations. And, you know, I thought Blade, I had really high expectations for the release of Blade, but even he's surpassed it. Like, he's just such a phenomenal character, and I think the main reason that Blade is just so incredibly popular, because people have been going mad. They've been going absolutely bonkers for Blade. Marvel Contest of Champions, like, this weekend was number 7 overall on grossing for the Apple iTunes store. So yeah, it just got a huge bump up. The whales were being milked. Everybody was going for those crystals like crazy, and I think for really good reason, and that's because Blade fundamentally is the champion that counters a lot of the big pain in the ass in Marvel Contest of Champions right now. So everybody hates like Magic's, Dormammu's, Mephisto's. They're popping up left, right, and center. And Blade is just such a phenomenal champion for dealing with all of those matchups and more. Like, he's just such a great champion, but also a very specific counter to Magic, Mephisto, and also somewhat Dormammu. You know, he has really good matchups against those 3 characters. And when it comes to, you know, PvP modes like Alliance War, everybody is so sick of just dying to those champions. So I think that's, you know, kind of the core reason why Blade is just such a crazy hype character. But in terms of what he can do, we're going to kind of walk you through his abilities if you're not fully aware of all the stuff that Blade does, and talk about, you know, his potential uses and how he can handle different matchups and scenarios. And I think kind of a secondary thing about, you know, how good is Blade is that Blade doesn't, to the best of my knowledge, have like a really bad matchup. Even the matchups that would kind of wreck other bleed immune characters that rely on bleed, like for example a Cable or Abomination or a Morningstar. Blade has the ability to negate kind of whatever the debuff is that's, you know, laying into the bleed champion, and then recover that health via his regeneration. So that's just one of the crazy things about this character. Is I haven't yet to kind of think of what would be a super bad matchup for Blade, because everything I think of is like, oh yeah, he'd still get around that, but there are, you know, scenarios like against like a Gru or a Colossus where he's just going to be a fairly like meh hitting champion. But in those matchups, like, they're so easy that I guess you know, you don't need a really you know, crazy champion for that, which I think is going to make Blade one of the craziest champions to use in the current state of Alliance War, especially when you're clearing up to the boss and stuff. There's not really, to the best of my knowledge, a bad matchup that you can clear into, if you can queue into, if you know how to play Blade and know how to navigate his abilities. So yeah, anyway, let's start off by going through some of his abilities then. So when awakened, when below 70% health, just holding block, Blade's healing factor allows him to recover what is just over 5% of his health for the cost of a certain percentage of a single bar of power per second. So on a 5-star dupe level 200, it's only roughly about 24% of a single bar of power per second, which is just absolutely nuts. That means, you know, you can easily be at like 5% and then use your full bar of power to heal back up to over 70%. So yeah, it's just so aggressive, and it's an amazing regeneration that's reliable. You can use it on demand, you can get it out wherever you want, and I think the skill when it comes to some of the endgame matchups is kind of weaving in that block at kind of the right time to pick up a little bit of regeneration here and there. So a bit of an interesting one. And now the next one is actually something, it's a line that I totally missed, which is when nearby bleeding opponents. So you actually have to be like right next to the opponent in terms of like, you know, just standing right next to them, or actually in the middle of a combo to actually get the benefit of this power. because I thought it was bugged for a little while, but I just missed off that line of text about nearby opponents. So for every stack of bleed on the opponent, you generate 7% of a bar of power per second, and this has amazing synergy with Blade's special attack too, especially in scenarios where you can play very, very aggressively. You can keep your opponent in the corner, and if you fire off the special too, then you're going to get a lot of the power gain from the bleeds if you are right in the corner and it's not, you know, pushing back because the opponent is already right at that corner. And then if you can go kind of straight in after that and land an intercept. So I feel like there's kind of this additional element of strategy and skill, you know, brought in by this nearby bleeding opponents thing, which is actually quite interesting. I really, really enjoy it. So, yeah, just crazy power gain. And then you also have the passive, which is one of the things that makes Blade so amazing. So when against dimensional beings, and the dimensional beings in the game are Dormammu, Magic, Mephisto, Hood, Ghost Rider, and Morningstar. Danger Sense activates, so this will give him 80% base attack, an 80% increase to his base attack. This is slightly off on this 5-star Blade. If you have a look in the background and you see that 3,306 attack rating, this doesn't inflate if you've got the Suicide Masteries on, but also, as well as giving you 80% of the champion's base attack, it will also reduce the opponent's ability accuracy by 40%, and this ability accuracy reduction ignores dimensional beings' immunities to ability accuracy reduction. So that second line only applies to Mephisto, and it can actually reduce his Aura of Incineration procs. And if you saw the Blade 3-star Duels video yesterday, it can actually sometimes prevent Mephisto from getting his regeneration as well. So yeah, super strong ability there, but the ability accuracy reduction is great for kind of the Magic, Mephisto and Dormammu matchups, especially if you've seen some of the videos of, like, you know, a rank 3 5-star Blade. We had one on the channel yesterday going up against a rank 4 Magic in Alliance War, just absolutely decimated there, barely got any Limbo procs at all. And, you know, if you do get the Limbo procs, you can just use the regeneration to heal that up anyway. So it ain't too bad. And then we have the next one, which is Blade's immune system attacks alien substances, shrugging off debuffs up to 95% faster based on current power. So this is kind of a way to recover those matchups like, you know, your Cable, your Abomination, your Morningstar. If you queue into something that's very unfriendly to a bleed champion, and you start taking a little bit of damage at the start from, you know, the poison or bleed or degeneration, then you can, you know, as you increase your power, those effects, the potency of those effects and duration are just going to go down and down and down until when you're at full power, they're practically not doing anything. And then you can kind of weave into your regeneration there a bit to just dip down a little bit below that special 3 and then just kind of attack in so that you can recover the health while sustaining the fight. I've seen some really awesome gameplay of Blade, a 5-star Blade versus Morningstar in the 6-star boss rush challenge. Kind of starts the fight taking a lot of damage from bleed, but then manages to stabilize and finish the fight with 70% health because it's just so damn effective. So yeah, really cool stuff there. Also, well-timed blocks, aka parries, have a 100% chance to inflict bleed, deals direct damage over 2 seconds. Again, great synergy with what is it, the Deep Wounds mastery here, and that's something we're going to talk about. Like, Blade is very reliant. If you want kind of the best damage output and the best experience for having 5 out of 5 Deep Wounds, because his parry bleed and special 2 bleed like benefits so much from it, it's ridiculous. So then we have the special attack 1, which applies 2 bleeds, which deal direct damage over 10 seconds. Special attack 2, which is where the party is at, from what I can tell. So this receives a huge amount of additional crit rating, and also inflicts bleed on critical hits, dealing, I think, how much damage is it again on his base? I think it's like 20% of his attack over 1 second, and for each bleed inflicted, Blade instantly generates 8% of a bar of power. But because this is a very short bleed that's like reasonably strong for a 1 second bleed, it gains a huge benefit from Deep Wounds because it, you know, increases the bleed duration and potency from 1 second to 3.5 seconds. So yeah, you get a lot more damage if you have Deep Wounds from the special too. So it's a really essential mastery if you kind of want to, you know, ramp up that damage and get the most out of Blade. And then finally we have the special attack free, which inflicts 3 stacks of bleed, each dealing direct damage over 13 seconds, and also has a 70% chance to stun for 3 seconds. Now from what I've seen, in terms of like what special attack you want to use, it seems like special 2 is the way to go, unless you're running the suicide masteries, in which case it just seems special 3 spam, because yeah, special 3, you know, you don't get the recoil, and it's still, you know, 3 stacks of bleed, 13 seconds, you got some good power out of that, but yeah, I kind of much prefer the strategy of not running suicides and just spamming the special 2. I find it significantly more fun while playing the character, but you know, if you do like running the suicide mastery, special 3 spam seems to be the way to go, unless you want to use special 2s till you dip below 50% health to get the what is it, the damage increase from courage, and try and like stabilize somewhere between like, I don't know, 20 and 50% for maximum crazy damage, which might be a tactic for those of you who, you know, enjoy living on the edge and enjoy that insane damage there. So yeah, there's just a ton of stuff that Blade can do to kind of generate power and get all these bleed effects off. So just to kind of get up my my list of pros and cons, which we used in the Stark and Arndt Spider-Man versus Blade videos. So pros: infinite regen, the attack and ability accuracy reduction versus dimensional beings. So this can actually be increased by one of the synergies. So the two important synergies on Blade are the synergy between Stark and Arndt Spider-Man and Ghost Rider. So the Stark and Arndt Spider-Man synergy gives him plus 45% potency for his danger sense bonuses, so increases the attack and also increases the ability accuracy reduction. And then with Ghost Rider, he can expand this to all villains. And the things that these two characters get in return, which are amazing for both of them, is Ghost Rider has a plus 50% chance to place a judgment, so his judgments won't fail. And also Stark and Arndt Spider-Man starts the fight with 3 poise charges, so really nice amount of damage just off the bat when it comes to that character there. So yeah, just amazing synergies. Honestly, my favorite unique synergies so far. They just complement the characters, they just complement each other also well. So yeah, you know, with the Stark and Arndt Spider-Man synergy, that's plus 116% base attack and minus 58% ability accuracy reduction. And expanded to every single villain character and all the dimensional beings. The up to 95% reduced debuff duration. What else do we have? Yeah, just talking about the good synergies there with Ghost Rider and how they affect Ghost Rider and Stark Spidey. The power gain while your opponent is bleeding. The bleed on parry. The huge chunk of power gain from the special 2. But then we kind of have some of the cons or stuff to keep in mind for Blade. Needs to be awakened for the infinite regen, and I think that's really one of the most desirable points about the character. I reckon you could still, you know, if you had like a 550 Blade or a rank 3 Blade or a rank 4 Blade as a 5-star, I reckon you'd still be able to get kind of, you know, Magic and Mephisto boss kills in Alliance War with relative ease. You know, it kind of depends on a lot of RNG with these characters. You know, he'd still be a really good matchup, but the huge appeal of Blade is having that infinite regen that you can just constantly dip into, and the more signature levels, the more the cheaper it gets in terms of the power trade-off there. Relies on 5/5 deep wounds for awesomeness. I'd say that's really important for kind of beefing up his damage. You potentially have slow matchups against bleed immune champions, like, you know, your Luke Cage, your Groot, your Colossus. Although Danger Sense can cover a lot of these bad matchups, like, you know, with Morningstar, Ghost Rider, and Dormammu. 3 prominent bleed immune champions. You have you know, 80 or 100%, 116% increased attack, depending on which synergies you're running with. So yeah, he has that to kind of offset some of the bad bleed matchups. And then the other one is a lot of the damage comes from chaining special 2, so not really that great to use with suicide masteries. But as kind of we mentioned earlier in this video, if you do want to run suicides, special 3 spam is still, you know, seems like a pretty viable tactic for using the champion. So overall, I am super happy with the introduction to Blade to Marvel Contest of Champions. I think is going to be absolutely amazing in a few months' time, where, you know, people can get this character out of one of their first 4-star crystals or a premium. And also in February, he's going to be supposedly added to the 5-star basic pool, as well as returning for a featured champion. So yeah, in terms of like my 5-star shards, like, this is honestly, I believe for the majority of people who don't already have kind of that hard-hitting truck champion like a Stark and Arndt Spider-Man and just want a MVP mystic slaying utility god, I think think Blade is just an absolutely fantastic option to kind of add to your roster as a 5-star champion. So I'd say, yeah, he's well worth it, even if you currently don't have a gem to awaken him. You've got 2 things coming up in the near future as well. You have Cyber Monday next month, which I think that the highest offer is most likely going to give at least a 5-star random class awakening gem. I'm kind of like gunning, really hoping there'll be a generic one. But also in December, you have Act 5 100% as well. And I feel like there's a very strong chance that a generic awakening gem will be in the rewards for 100% Act 5. Because they put a random class one at the end of 5.3. So for the entire thing, who knows? There might be a 5-star awakening gem there. But anyway, so to summarize, Blade, absolutely fantastic champion. Definitely a character that this game needed. I just can't wait for him to become a little bit more common and a little bit more available so people can start picking him up and putting an end to some of this mystic BS that we've been dealing with for the well, what feels like the last year or so. So yeah, super happy about this character. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think of Blade in the comments below. Is he a character that you quite enjoy? Do you think anything could be different or better about Blade? Do you think Blade's a little bit too overpowered? But yeah, apart from that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. Take care and have an absolutely fantastic day.